All right, welcome back, everyone. It is our first weekly Bitcoin wrap up of 2026. So, welcome back, Coach Nick.
Yes, welcome everyone, 2026. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channels, Mark and mine, and let's continue to get this growing. Let's continue to get the financial awareness, Bitcoin insights, and market trends for you guys, everybody.
Yeah, I love this. Well, before that, how was your New Year, though?
My new year was pretty chill, relaxing. We've been actually watching Rocky movies with my kids, trying to get them, into it. So it's been a lot of fun, just throwing the throwbacks on and engaging together as a family. What about you?
Yeah, pretty chill. Son was with the mom, so definitely did not make it to midnight. I made it to maybe East Coast midnight out here in Hawaii. So I'll take that as a win. But definitely, it's
That's
getting
like
hard to stay
come
up that late.
on.
Well, but new year, new narratives, and some of the same old noise, right? So we're gonna kind of keep it simple, practical, and grounded. So as we kick off 2026, what Bitcoin theory or narratives are you hearing the most right now?
Just a lot of adoption going on. We saw Bitcoin go up to 90,000 again, hitting that little psychological level for people, and it might drop back down to 86, 84. That thing fluctuates, it's volatile for sure. But there's a lot of Bitcoin adoption, it seems, going on in sovereign wealth funds, especially the Middle East. They're buying, they're stacking, and they're treating it like, they were oil giants. They're trying to go into the technology giants. They're doing a lot over there, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and so on. So they're trying to get a head start on everything. And I think they're doing a good job, actually. So you don't never really know who's buying what fully, but you get an idea sometimes by where it's at on the chain and what they have. But yeah, I think the biggest theory right now is the big people, the sovereign wealth funds, are buying.
Would you say this is a recycled theory or something genuinely new?
Well, I think it's been a theory for a long time, but I think more considering the different conferences they've been throwing over there and different narratives coming from that Middle East section, that they're just trying to advance. They also have a lot of just oil money that is off the radar and off the books, and they could do different things. They could take a little bit more risk and chances, and they kind of have their own regulation of what they're going to do. So I think that it's a positive for Bitcoin holders. You just want them to keep restacking, reach exchanging those coins. Some old whales have sold a lot of coins, and now instead of them being $3, they're now at $100,000 average or $110,000 average or whatever it is for those new buyers. And those new buyers are going to hold, so it's going to go back up in my opinion. I don't think anyone's just giving up on their 100 grand money or whatever it is, and I think it's a positive for all of us. Just a slow game, and I think after Q1 and they do some stuff within our own government and regulation, and maybe stop focusing on Venezuela. Maybe we could we could get some regulation going on Bitcoin.
Before we move on, I just want to remind everyone Nick is also streaming on his channel. So there is his channel there. If you can, jump over there, subscribe if you haven't. But also, people are mentioning it. So if you guys can, maybe give a thumbs up or thumbs down if you like Nick's new background. So some people said sparkly. So yeah, we'll see if they like it or if it's too much. But I like it. It looks pretty cool. But yes, a lot of stuff happening. While I was sleeping. So we'll leave it at that. I'm not sure if was there anything in the markets that moved with the
Uh,
with
Markets are closed right now, which is probably one of the reasons why they did a lot of what they did in the middle of the night. So, and Bitcoin hasn't adjusted, so that's a positive sign. So I'm happy about that. So I'm excited about a lot of that.
all right. For someone brand new to Bitcoin, maybe in 2026, what book would you recommend they start with?
I think you always start with the Bitcoin Standard. It just gives you great fundamentals about Bitcoin and just sound money principles in general. But there's also a couple other books that I like. The Little Bitcoin book, it's very simple, easy, digestible to read for newcomers. And then Mastering Bitcoin, that's a good book as well. So those three books, they give practical guides to learning about Bitcoin, what it means, understanding some of the blockchain, understanding the limited supply of coins and things of that nature, and then understanding how money works in general, how they keep printing, how fiat is going to zero, and it's a great starter pack for anyone looking to get into Bitcoin and doesn't want to take my word for it or some stranger's word for it that they don't know or some guy on the internet, right? They want to learn a little bit themselves. So I always recommend reading if you're going to do anything this year, I think you should read. Now, I got a college degree, I got a master's degree and so on, but I've read more these last couple years, probably since COVID, than I've done in my entire life. And they're so valuable. And I learn about that through people like even Brandon Turner, through Hormozy, just different things that you could really gain a lot of knowledge, not just from the Bible in general, but also from what people have experienced. They talk about a village as being led by the elders. And now we're kind of going back to some of that. We're not just relying on some grandma or grandpa teaching us something, but we're seeing that they wrote it down. They wrote it down for a reason.
So Hyder is also putting this Bitcoin PDF in the chat. So if anyone wants to check it out, he said it's only 9 short pages. I believe he's saying it's the Bitcoin. He's trying to set me up on this though. It's the Bitcoin standard written by Safadin Amos, I'll go with, but he's not sure of the spelling. So thanks, Hyder, for setting me up on this live stream for that. But yeah,
that's the Bitcoin Standard author, so it's probably the right information, and it's just probably like a Cliff Notes version of it. So if you're trying to just dig a little deeper at the start, and maybe that gets you interested in reading the whole book. Yeah, very cool. Thanks, Hyder.
Now you did mention some books. What shouldn't beginners maybe read first?
I think it's not about reading, it's about the conversations for them. Stop having conversations with broke people or people that have no Bitcoin or no experience in stocks or bonds or just altcoins in general. Stop learning from people that don't know what they're talking about, right? You want to talk to a giant fat person maybe about exercise, right? You want to have them be your trainer. And the same, you want to talk about money with broke people. Now, sometimes they can teach you a lesson how to lose it, but they might most likely not know how to gain it, how to build it, and then once you build it, how to keep it. So my biggest concern is who you talk to. Is your network, obviously they say your net worth is your network, right? But at the same time, are these people really guiding you, helping you, or are they even making you take risky chances that you shouldn't take depending on your age and circumstance? So all those things are important. That's why building a community of people you trust, believe in, and have done it before is so important in any space of life.
So, and unfortunately, a lot of beginners, like you said, kind of get pulled in by headlines instead of fundamentals, right? So maybe what headline this week created a lot of drama, but actually didn't matter at all?
Just a lot of FUD over the new year. Like, are we going to crash? Are we going to drop? Are we going to blast off? Just online, people are living in panic and trauma bonded to October 10th and their crash, the leverage drops. If you're watching the liquidation maps, I mentioned this in my earliest videos about watching what's called a heat map, a liquidation map. You could find it online. I should probably drop a link in, and you could see where these yellow lines are. And that means that it's high leverage, and usually high leverage right now until there's regulation because of the wash trading rules. They're going to get scooped up. So if you see a lot of longs down below in 50x, 75x, 100x leverage, I expect them to be grabbed at the next headline that's bad. Oh, unemployment was this, and they're going to just use that as noise to drop. Like, oh, people must have got afraid, but that's not really true. They're just manipulating the coins on you. And they do that for stocks as well. You see that on Jerome Powell's talking, and he says one thing, and woo, they sell off one of their accounts and go on from there. So I mean, it's
so on that point though, why do you think people fall for headlines like that?
Well, again, going back, a lot of people don't have friends that are in the stock market. I mean, look at us maybe in real estate. I didn't know anybody else that was doing real estate at the time. My uncle told me don't do real estate. There's a lot of people that tell you not to do it or see this is what happens. And I'll tell you what, when I'm losing Bitcoin, I get a lot of text messages. Hey, look at Bitcoin. Oh, it's down. It's like they have joy from it. If I was getting evicted from, trying to evict a tenant that didn't pay rent and damaging my property, nobody would say, hey, how's that rental going? But when it comes to Bitcoin, people like to, get on you when it's down. But when it's up, man, people start asking questions a lot more. So I'm excited in 2026. I think there's going to be a lot more questions and interest going on in Bitcoin. And I just want that for people's families. Right now, they're shaking out retail, and they're doing a damn good job of it. But I think in the future, they're going to regret selling that. And you don't have to have a whole Bitcoin. Like I said, I really hope you buy a Bitcoin for each one of your family members, each one of your kids. But at the same point, I know that's a lot of money now. So just getting in the ball game would be a great idea. Get 0.21 Bitcoin and you'll be okay.
It's funny. I can tell where Bitcoin is at without even looking, just based on what the X feed is.
Yeah.
When it's doing well, you hear a lot of, you see all the Bitcoin maxis out. When it's not doing well, then you see, like you said, people for whatever reason enjoy when it's down, right?
Oh,
Uh,
crazy.
with that kind of noise, though, it often pushes people maybe into bad decisions, especially if they're holding cash. But if someone's sitting on cash right now, what do you recommend beyond a high yield savings account that's still relatively safe?
One of the things I really recommend is doing some research on stock ticker STRC, right? So it's related to MSTR. It's a MicroStrategy preferred stock equity or whatever. And STRC actually gives you an 11% dividend yield on the year. So every month they'll pay you a percentage of that 11% each month. So think about that. They're really trying to get you to get into that. And they cannot, what they do is they sell at the money shares at the $100 mark. Right now, it's probably around $99 share price. When it gets to above $100 plus, they ATM, they print their own shares and they take liquidity out and they buy Bitcoin with it, which is fine. That's for MicroStrategy. But it also, during that time, while it's under $100, they can't legally ATM the STRC, and it's just an opportunity to make money. Like if you see a drop, if it gets ATM down to 98, 97, really 95, you want to get in there for sure, because you got to save $5 up, which is equity build, and at the same time getting 11 dang percent. That's huge. You don't got anything, tenants, landlords, Bitcoin volatility, it doesn't matter. The only thing that could happen is if people get afraid on a Bitcoin crash and they just pull their money out of the stock in general, the dividend stock, and then that could reduce the price. But other than that, it's a pretty safe preferred equity stock that I really recommend to people learning about, because 11% to do nothing is pretty nice.
Do you think there's a mistake that people make trying to be too safe, though?
Do I think there's a, yeah, I think there's a mistake when people try to be too safe, and I think there's a mistake when people try to like be too risky. That's why they talk about diversification a lot of times. Now, a lot of times people say diversification is a fancy word for less Bitcoin in our community, right? So I understand that. But as someone who's experienced highs, lows, and everything in between, I think it's okay to have some money in your high yield or some money in your preferred equity, because this is a newer preferred equity, probably over the last 6 months. Um, and then it's just better to have a little bit of diversity so you're not stressed out, man. You see that big number go down or your life savings and you want to pull it out. I don't want to lose this. And you pull it out and you sell it for a loss, and then it goes back up, and then you buy it back in for less, and then it drops and you sell it at a loss, and then they just keep taking your money from you. So it's important that you have enough in there that you feel comfortable that you could set it and forget it and just let Bitcoin do its thing.
Already talk about being comfortable and whatnot, and that kind of ties directly into maybe how the markets feel heading into next week. And then we'll get into the last maybe question or topic, and then we'll answer some of the questions in the chat. But if the markets could talk, what advice would they give us heading into next week?
Well, I guess I would say focus on the fundamentals and not every headline. You mentioned on X especially, and the algorithms can eat you up on X. I swear to you. It gave me anxiety like when I was first like learning about X, because I haven't been on X my whole life. I just got on X because of some of the Bitcoin news and things I like to study. And man, when those algorithms start hitting, man, Peter Schiff starts talking about how gold's great and Bitcoin's terrible. It can really give you anxiety if you have a lot of money in there. Because I've had lots of money in there, and it's really stressed me out. But I've kind of learned to either take some of it out, put some of it in safer places, or pay off whatever I need to pay off so I could not have any stress. You have it in real estate, you have it in gold or precious metals, you have it in Bitcoin. Nothing's the same. You get over leveraged, you get stressed out, and especially if you stay online. Remember that fear is loud and opportunity whispers to you. So when there's blood in the streets, you kind of get an idea that this might be a better time to buy. It doesn't always mean that, though. Anytime you're buying a single stock or a single coin, you have more risk, but you have more upside. And you're really playing that game. The only reason I love Bitcoin is because I believe it's unhackable, and I believe that there's a limited supply of it. And that's the difference between that and all the other coins where somebody else owns them, could rug pull you and do that as well.
All right, so let's open it up. Let's see if there's any questions here in the chat because I saw a few. But thanks everyone for tuning in. I saw Hyder. So he did want to clarify, though. I guess what I was referencing what he put there. He said he shared a white paper and mentioned the Bitcoin standard. He said two different references. But I do see, yep, Yasik is saying, I recommend first getting off the couch and start doing something productive. Harrison's asking, Nick, what do you recommend for a kid's birthday present? Would you create a crypto wallet that you have friends and family send Bitcoin or Doge?
Yeah, you could do that, Ledger or whatever one you want to put it on, but I wouldn't have them send Doge. Doge basically is there's an unlimited supply. That's why it's like impossible to really go up and get after it. Even when Elon Musk bought it, it was just a fun thing that he kind of ran with his company, his people. They told him to buy. As most people don't understand stocks. I know because I used to own a good amount of Doge, nothing crazy. Maybe 20, 30 grand in Doge. But after I learned about it through the downside, I was like, oh man, what's going on here? And it just doesn't have a limited supply. So I wouldn't do Doge ever. But you could do Bitcoin for sure. And having them send some, that'd be awesome. I think that's the world we're living in. Times are changing. I was even talking to my wife about this for Christmas. We bought a ton of presents. We do the whole nine, and we know that's not what Christmas is about. But at the same time, there might be an age where we start just doing investing for them. Put it in an ETF, put it in Bitcoin, put it in a high yield. We're just trying to teach them more than life is about gifts. Because if you get money, if you get $10 and you spend 11, you're going to be broke your whole life. It doesn't matter. You can get a million and spend 1,000,001. You're going to lose your business, And I don't want that to happen for my kids. I don't want them to happen to our viewers, and I don't want them to happen to anybody that just doesn't have friends that teach them about real finance and real money. Yeah.
Hyder is saying Bitcoin only. It's the one that has all the boxes checked, like no others. He also says Mark Moss just did a video about selling versus leveraging an asset. Don't sell. You have any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's well, yes, I think that's a great idea. Most of these it's like real estate. A lot of times people are leveraging their real estate and they roll it over and they buy another property, right? They either get the HELOC, they get the cash out refi, and they buy their next duplex, quadplex commercial property. The same is happening for Bitcoin. And the same is happening for even stocks. Elon Musk is leveraging his Tesla stock, and he's not selling it because he's going to pay a ton of taxes if he does, even though he already does pay a ton of taxes. But so he just leverages it and pays whatever it is with that loan and never sells his stock. And you should never sell your Bitcoin if you believe in it. I believe in it. Now, I do have a trading stack that I do because there is volatility in Bitcoin. So I love to take advantage of that volatility, reading the liquidation heat maps and paying attention to the charts. But yeah, that's the equivalent for real estate is just refinancing or leveraging or whatever it is. Now, margin is something different, right? You take out a margin loan, that's plays against you. That's very dangerous. I wouldn't recommend anybody doing more than 10% of their account in there. And even then, they better have some money on the sidelines that they can put in so they don't have to be forced to sell and get liquidated through even something like Robinhood.
Bill O'Connell is saying the more I learn about Bitcoin, the more I like it. So yes, Bill, I'm pretty sure you have already, but there is Nick's YouTube channel there. So you can always subscribe there and find daily content on his channel about Bitcoin.
Yeah, when you understand money, when you start to learn more and more, it doesn't matter whose channel maybe you're watching in terms of learning about money, because money's the truth. They're printing it, they're taxing people, but they're just printing it on their own. They're giving it away to other countries. They're giving it away to these nonprofits or whatever scams coming up
Well,
next.
that'll be my next question. What's going to perform better in 2026, or what performed better in 2025? Daycares or Bitcoin?
Well, daycares, they beat Bitcoin, that's for sure. Not to be political, but there's a lot of things: fear, uncertainty, doubt. There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in government, any government. Don't get me wrong, but until they really crack down on those things, which some of it's always going to slip through the cracks because you just got nefarious players that are just trying to steal, kill, and destroy anything positive. Some things are good. You're trying to have great parks, so you use tax money for parks, and then they're damaging the parks, or they're three guys are putting in a headlight or a light bulb, and it takes them 3 weeks for the city to get it done. So the idea is right. It just some people are abusing it, but obviously the daycare thing is just criminal in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, too, another thing Zuber's really been focusing on is the California wealth or billionaire tax. They've been talking quite a bit, and I'm pretty certain you're not in the billionaire class, but I'm
No.
sure you're doing well for yourself. But I know you've always talked about too about maybe looking at relocating to Charlotte. Does that in any way accelerate your timeline now with hearing these type of things?
Yes, I think the gradual change in government politics, no matter even either side, sometimes can be really extreme on some of the things they're thinking about, which is scary. So here in California, we have crazy laws all the time. It sucks because we have beautiful weather, we have a lot of beautiful people, we have great beaches and forests and parks and national parks and everything else. But at the same time, even the grocery store, they're charging you 10 cents for every plastic bag you use. And now you can't even use a plastic bag. You got to get paper bags. And those are the cheapest bags that just rip with your groceries. So you better bring in your own bags. And just everything's changing all the time. Even the landlord laws, that's one of the reasons I sold. I was an investor in California. I love the appreciation effect that's happening here. Wealth goes up, with wages. Wealth could go up. Our state is one of the the fourth largest GDP in the world. So obviously there's a lot of money in California. So things are going to go up. They're going to get expensive. But sometimes the laws don't protect you. So the laws for rentals, hey, now you need to have a fridge in there. You have to mandatorily have a fridge in there. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you want your people to have a fridge. That's great. But it's up to them. Do I want to rent it? Do I want to rent them a fridge because they don't have one? So there's a lot of things like that. Even now with Bitcoin, if you move, like if your wallet or something isn't activated for 3 years, they could come in and confiscate your Bitcoin from certain things. So they're changing laws all the time. They're trying to find money. Even though there is a lot of money, they're also still trying to find money because you have programs, just for example, no matter your politics, the daycare situation. Let's say that's thoroughly true and there's not kids in there, they're not being watched, and they're making millions of dollars. Well, that should upset you no matter what politics you are, because you're paying taxes to that. And that money's going there. And then you're wondering why your state's broke, why the teachers like myself, hey, we can't get a raise because there's no money in the system. Well, why is there no money? We have the fourth largest GDP. Now, don't get me wrong. Teachers get paid really well. I'm a teacher here. We're over 100 G's real fast. So it's nice. But where I want to go, Charlotte, it's like 55 G's, So I'm like, man, I better be fully retired when I go to Charlotte. I'm not teaching anything other than finance and Bitcoin, I guess.
Well, to Yasik's point, one of my life mottos is always be open to learn. Be
Yeah.
the stupid guy in the room or surround yourself with smarter people. Yeah.
A lot of times I'll know the answer. The Bible tells us too, surround yourself with wise counsel. It's literally biblical, but I could know something, but I'm still going to ask questions, even though I know the answers, because I'm going to see if I'm coming up with the right result and not just formulating wish pricing. We talked about this last time about getting a rental, and we have wish rents. Like, oh, in a perfect world, I'm going to get 2,500. I need 2,500 for it to work out so I could get my whatever a door. Well, the same could happen in anything you do. You could rationalize something you're really excited about. I need to start this business. And then you look at it like I know somebody who he got basically like a potato business at the mall. You know what I mean? Where they do like bacon, sour cream, like in the food court. And I don't know if you know about rents in the malls here, but they're expensive, 30, 40 grand a month to be in that food court. So he eventually lost his money, unfortunately, and it was money he inherited, and he's something he always wanted to do. But was that a smart idea? Probably not. I don't think there's a big going rate for potatoes here in California, but maybe it would have worked. I don't know. But you need friends that are going to tell you the truth, that are going to even tell you when you don't want to hear it. Too many times, even in relationships, we see people going to the person that's divorced, getting relationship advice. Hey, that's a bad idea, brother. They're divorced 3 times. I don't think you want their advice. So the same goes for business. You better talk to people, and it's okay if you talk to 1 millionaire or 2 millionaires. Ask a third one, ask a fourth one. It doesn't hurt to get multiple ideas, thoughts, and processes.
All right. So as we wrap up our first Bitcoin weekly wrap up of 2026, right? Remember, markets don't reward urgency; they reward patience, discipline, and clear thinking, right? So as you would say, lead with purpose, pray with intention, and hodl with discipline, right? So we'll see everyone next week, and go check out Nick's channel, subscribe there, and we'll be back next week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.